The Walnut High School Radio Players presents Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, the tale of a miserly man who comes to realize the true spirit of Christmas. When this story first appeared over 175 years ago, few observed Christmas other than at church. Few employers gave workers off for the holiday, and the jolly country celebrations of merry old England's past were largely forgotten in the cities. But this little story helped transform Christmas from a staid religious holiday into the joyous season of faith, feasting, and goodwill it is to this very day. Dickens' ghost story of Christmas opens in London on a cold, snowy December 24th in the year 1843.
Once upon a time, of all good days in the year, on Christmas Eve, old Ebenezer Scrooge, member of the firm of Scrooge, Marley and Company, sat busy in his counting house. It was cold, bleak, biting weather, and he could hear the people in the court outside go wheezing up and down, beating their hands upon their chests and stamping their feet upon the pavement to keep warm. The city clocks had just gone 3, but it was quite dark already, and the candles were glaring in the windows of the neighboring office, like ruddy smears upon the brown air. The door of Scrooge's counting house was open that he might keep his eye upon his faithful but shivering clerk, Bob Cratchit, who in a dismal, cold cell was copying letters.
Well, out with it. What are you standing there for?
Well, sir, my fire's about out, and I thought another bit of coal would keep it going till...
Nonsense. Haven't I told you I won't have you burning up my coal like tinder?
Yes, sir.
Who's that, Cratchit?
A lady, sir. I don't know who she is.
Let her in.
Scrooge and Marley's, I believe. Have I the pleasure of addressing Scrooge or Marley?
Marley has been dead these 7 years. Since you asked, Marley died 7 years ago this very night.
We have no doubt that his liberality is well represented by his surviving partner.
Not interested.
At this festive season, Mr. Scrooge, it is more than desirable that we make some slight provisions for the poor and the destitute who suffer greatly at this present time. Many thousands are in want of common comforts. Hundreds of thousands are in want of common necessities, sir.
Are there not prisons?
Plenty of prisons.
And the union workhouses, are they still in operation?
They are. Still, I wish I could say they were not.
The treadmill and the poor law are in full vigor then?
Both are very busy.
Oh, I was afraid from what you said at first something bad had occurred to stop them in their useful course. I'm very glad to hear
But,
it.
sir, these organizations scarcely furnish Christian cheer of mind or body to these unfortunate people. It is because of that a few of us are endeavoring to raise a fund to buy the poor some meat and drink and means of warmth. We choose this time because it is a time of all other when want is keenly felt and abundance rejoices. What shall I put you down for?
Nothing.
Nothing? You wish to be anonymous.
I wish to be left alone. Since you asked me what I wish, that is my answer. I don't make merry myself at Christmas. My partner Marley never did, and I can't afford to make idle people merry. I hope to support the establishments I've mentioned. They cost enough, and those that are badly off must go there.
Many can't go there, and many would rather die than go there.
If they would rather die, they'd had better do it and decrease the surplus population. Besides, I don't know that.
But you might know it.
It's not my business. It's enough for a man to understand his own business and not interfere with other people's. Mine occupies me constantly.
But Mr. Scrooge,
Good afternoon.
I can only say, Mr. Scrooge, that I hope you will consider the spirit of the day and think again. Good afternoon.
Ah, humbug.
God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. Remember Christ our Savior was born on Christmas Day.
Quiet! Be gone, you miserable little beggars. Take your infernal Christmas carols and get away from my door. Beggars, pests.
A Merry Christmas, Uncle. God save you.
Bah, humbug.
Christmas a humbug, Uncle. You don't mean that, and I'm sure.
I do. Merry Christmas. What right have you to be merry? What reason have you to be merry? You're poor enough.
Come then, what right have you to be dismal? What right have you to be remorseful? You're rich enough.
Bah, humbug.
Don't be cross, Uncle.
What else can I be when I live in such a world of fools as this? Merry Christmas. What's it to you but a time of paying bills without money? If I could work my will, every idiot who goes about with Merry Christmas on his lips should be boiled in his own pudding and buried with a stake of holly through his heart.
Uncle.
Niece, keep your Christmas in your own way and let me keep it in mine.
Keep it, but you don't keep it.
Let me leave it alone then. Much good it has ever done you or will.
Why, Uncle, it has done me a lot of good. Apart from its sacred celebration, it's brought me a good time. A kind, forgiving, charitable, happy time. The only time I know in the whole calendar when men and women open their hearts. Hearts that sometimes stay closed the rest of the year. Yes, Uncle, though it has never put a scrap of silver in my pocket, I believe it has done me good and will do me good. And I say, God bless it.
Cratchit.
Yes, sir.
Quite a powerful speaker, madam. Oh, I wonder you don't go into Parliament.
Don't be angry, Uncle. Come, dine with us tomorrow.
I'll dine with the devil first.
But why?
Why did you get married?
Because I fell in love.
Because you fell in love. Good afternoon.
Nay, Uncle, but you never came to see me before I was married. Why give that as a reason for not coming now?
Good afternoon.
Uncle, why can't we be friends? We've never had any quarrel to which I've been a party, and we never will. I've come to see you in homage to Christmas, and I'll keep up my Christmas spirit to the last. So, a Merry Christmas, Uncle.
Good afternoon.
And Happy New Year.
Bah. Are you done with your work, Cratchit?
Well, sir, it's 7 o'clock, sir, and it is Christmas Eve.
Yes, I know. You were wondering whether you could have all day off tomorrow, I suppose.
Well, if quite convenient, sir.
It's not convenient, and it's not fair.
'Tis but once a year, sir.
Bah, Christmas. Nothing but a poor man's excuse to a man's pocket every December 25th. My old partner, Marley, agreed well with me. I thought it a lot of humbug, too. And you, a clerk with 15 shilling a week and wife and family, talking about a Merry Christmas. Bah! Suppose if you must. But be here all the earlier the next morning.
Yes, sir, I will, and thank you, sir. And a bah humbug to you, sir.
Merry Christmas, indeed. Bah!
After such a disturbing afternoon, Scrooge took his melancholy dinner to his usual melancholy tavern, and having read all the newspapers and beguiled the rest of the evening with his banker's book, started on his way home. Now, it's a fact that there was nothing at all particular about the knocker on his door, except that it was very large. It is also a fact that Scrooge had seen it night and morning during his whole residence in that place. Also that Scrooge had as little of what is called fancy about him as any man in the city of London. Let it also be kept in mind that Scrooge had not bestowed a thought on Marley since the last mention of his dead partner that afternoon. And then, let any man explain, if he can, how it happened that Scrooge, having his key in the lock of the door, saw in the knocker not a knocker, but
Marley's face. Bah! Humbug.
he lived in chambers which had once belonged to his irascible old partner Marley, a gloomy suite of rooms, old and dreary, where no one lived but Scrooge, the other rooms being let out as offices. Once in his apartment, he closed and locked his door, and in his usual fashion put on his dressing gown and slippers, and sat down before the fire to take his evening gruel. The fire was very low indeed, casting eerie shadows on the walls, and he was obliged to sit close to it and brood over it before he could extract any warmth from it. As he leaned forward in his chair, his glance happened to rest upon a bell, a disused bell that hung in the room and communicated, for some purpose long forgotten, with a chamber in the highest story of the building. It was with great astonishment and a strange dread that as he looked, he saw this bell beginning to swing, first softly, then so loudly that every bell in the house joined in and rang also. This must have lasted for half a minute or so, but to Scrooge it seemed a terrifying hour.
Humbug. It's nothing. It's the wind.
The bell ceased, only to be followed by a clanging noise deep down below, as if some person were dragging a heavy chain over the casks of the wine merchant's cellar. Scrooge then remembered that ghosts in haunted houses were described as dragging chains.
It's humbug still. I won't believe it.
Then followed a series of strange sounds, as of feet mounting stairs, coming closer and closer, toward his room. Scrooge, suddenly aware that some weird happening was about to occur, hugged his shivering body and waited in fear and trembling.
What do you want with me?
Much.
Who are you?
Ask me who I was.
Who were you then?
In life, I was your partner, Marley. You don't believe me.
I don't
What evidence would you have of my reality beyond your own senses?
know.
Why doubt your senses?
Because a little thing affects them. A slight disorder of the stomach makes them cheats. You may be an undigested bit of beef, a blot of mustard, a crumb of cheese, a fragment of underdone potato. There's more gravy than of grave of you, whatever you are. Humbug, I tell you, humbug. Mercy, dreadful apparition. Why do you trouble me?
Man of will combined, do you believe in me or not?
I do, I must. But why do spirits walk on the earth, and why do they come to me?
It is required of every man that the spirit within him should walk abroad among his fellow men. And if that spirit goes not forth in life, it is condemned to do so after death. It is doomed to wander through the world, oh woe is me, and witness what I cannot share, but might have shared on earth, and turn to happiness.
You are fettered. Tell me, why?
I wear the chain I forged in life. I made it link by link, and of my own free will I wore it. Would you know the weight of the strong cloth you bear yourself? It was full and heavy as this, 7 Christmas Eves ago. You have labored on it since. It is indeed a ponderous chain.
Marley, my dear old friend, tell me more. Speak comfort to me, Marley.
I have none to give. In life, my spirit never walked beyond the narrow limits of our counting house. Mark me, and weary journeys lie before me.
But you were always good in business, Marley.
Business? Mankind was my business. The common welfare was my business. Charity, mercy, forbearance, and benevolence were all my business. The dealings of my trade were but a drop of water in the comprehensive ocean of my business. At this time of the ruling year I seek uppermost. Why did I walk through the crowds of fellow beings when my eyes turned down, and never rated them to the blessed stars which led the wise men to a poor abode? Were there no poor homes to which life would have conducted me? Hear me, my time is nearly gone.
I will, but don't be hard upon me. Don't be flowery, Marley, I pray.
How is it that I appear before you in a shape that you can see? I may not tell. I have sat invisible beside you many and many a day. That is no light part of my penance. I am here tonight to warn you that you have yet a chance and hope of escaping my fate, Ebenezer.
You were always a good friend to me. Thank you.
Hear me. You will be haunted by 3 spirits.
Is that the chance and hope you mentioned, Marley?
It is.
I think I'd rather not.
Without their visit, you cannot hope to shun the path I tread. Expect the first tomorrow when the bell tolls 1.
Couldn't I take them all at once and have it over, Jacob?
Expect the second, on the next night at the same hour. The third, upon the next night, when the last stroke of 12 ceases to vibrate. Look to see me no more. No more!
Slowly and quietly, the spectre floated out upon the dark, bleak night, leaving Scrooge desperate with curiosity behind. After a moment, he followed and went to the window and looked out. The air was filled with phantoms. Every one of them wore chains like Marley's ghost. Many he knew personally, old friends who had passed on, business acquaintances, all bound and fettered and wailing in mournful dirge. The misery of them was all clear, that they sought to help in human matters and had lost the power forever. With a painful sigh, Scrooge closed the window and examined the door by which the ghost had entered. It was double-locked just as he had locked it in the early evening.
Bah! Humbug.
Subconsciously, from deep in the realms of sleep, old Scrooge heard the clock toll at the quarter hour, the half hour, and remembered that the ghost had warned him of a visitation on the stroke of 1. Recalling this, he dozed fitfully.
1. It was past 2 when I went to bed. Night school must have gotten in the works.
For a moment he blinked, then stared wide-eyed at what appeared before him.
Are you the spirit, sir, whose coming was foretold me?
I am.
Who and what are you?
I am the ghost of Christmas past.
Long past.
Your past. I come for your welfare. Come, Scrooge. Rise and walk with me.
I am mortal and liable to fall.
Have no fear. My hand will support you. Look beyond. What do you see?
They passed through the wall and stood upon an open country road with fields on either side. It was a clear, cold, wintry day with snow upon the ground.
Good heaven, I see. Why, I was a boy here. All this I remember well.
Your lip is trembling. And what is that upon your cheek?
Lead on, spirit. I follow.
You remember the way.
Remember it. The path of my boyhood, I could walk it blindfolded.
Strange to have forgotten it for so many years. Strange. But let us go on. School. Do you remember? But of course you do. Even though it is Christmas Eve, however, it is not quite deserted. A solitary child, neglected by his friends, is left there still.
I know him all too well. My own lowest boyhood, my lonely self.
You recall this old brick schoolhouse with its weather rock and the school bell hanging from its roof? Look now. The walls are damp and mossy, the windows broken, the gates decayed. Let us look within the boy who still reads near the feeble fire.
Poor boy. Poor lonely boy. It was that day my little sister, Fan, came with the happy news that she had persuaded my father to let me come home for Christmas.
Ebenezer, dear brother, I've come to take you home.
Fan? Home, Fan?
Yes, home for good and all. Father is so much kinder than he used to be. He spoke so gently to me one night, and I wasn't afraid to ask him once more if you might come home. He said yes, you should. He sent me a coach to bring you.
This is a Merry Christmas, Fan.
We're to be together all Christmas and have the merriest time in the world. Let's get your trunk.
I had thought that I was to spend it all alone at school. How she clapped her tiny hands and laughed when she told me she had sent a coach to fetch me, that we might all have a Merry Christmas together.
Your sister was always a delicate creature, who a breath might have withered, but she had a large heart. She died a woman and had, I think, one child.
Yes, my niece, Francine.
What say you?
I wish, but it's too late now.
What is too late?
Nothing. Last night, some children were singing a Christmas carol at my door. I would like to have given them something, that's all.
Let us see another Christmas.
And so the spirit of Christmas past led old Scrooge down the memories of long ago, each separate experience recalling moments quite forgotten. Although they had just left the school behind them, they were now in the busy thoroughfares of a city. It was again Christmas time, but it was evening and the streets were lighted up.
Do you know this place?
No, I was apprenticed here. It's old Fezziwig, bless his heart.
My dears, it's Christmas Eve, a toast to that glorious occasion. May tomorrow and the whole of the new year find us merry, content, and above all, filled with the happy goodwill of the season toward all our fellows. And in honor of the great day, I have engaged the service of the most renowned musician in the city of London. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody, come and dance.
Scrooge watched, and he saw the memories of that Christmas Eve suddenly come into being. The clearing of the warehouse floor for dancing, the fiddler perched on Fezziwig's high desk, the beaming face of Mrs. Fezziwig and the laughter of people dancing at once. Himself, a young lad of 18, laughing with the rest.
Small matter to make these silly folks so full of gratitude.
Small?
Why, is it not? He has spent but a few pounds of your mortal money, 3 or 4 perhaps. Is that so much that he deserves praise?
It isn't that at all, Spirit. He had the power to render us happy or unhappy, to make our service light or burdensome. The happiness he gave us was quite as great as if it had cost a fortune.
What is the matter?
Nothing particular.
Something, I think.
No. I should like to be able to say a word or two to my clerk, Bob Cratchit, just now. That's all.
My dears, the hour grows late. Before we depart, however, Mrs. Fezziwig and I have an announcement. An announcement of a most auspicious nature.
Spirit, show me no more.
As you know, Mrs. Fezziwig and I has labored these many years to rear a very particular child. The fruits of our labor, I am happy to say, are most satisfactory, more than satisfactory. They are summed up in one beautiful word: Belle. Now, at the very dawn, the very ripeness of her youth and beauty, she has surrendered to the wiles of one of you in this very room. One to whom I furnish shelter, food, and a warm bed. I'll not deny, he's the hardest working apprentice ever to balance a book or close an account. Come spring, our lovely Belle shall wed that most industrious of young men, Mr. Ebenezer Scrooge.
Spirit, take me home.
Once again, Scrooge and the ghost stood side by side in the open air.
My time grows short. Look.
And Scrooge looked, this time seeing himself as a man in the prime of his life. He was not alone, but was joined by the fair young Belle, in whose eyes there were tears.
Matters little to you, very little. Another idol has displaced me, and if I can cheer and comfort you in time to come, as I would have tried to do, I have not just cause to grieve.
What idols displaced you?
A golden one.
This is the even-handing dealing with the world. There's nothing on which the world is so hard as poverty, and there's nothing it professes to condemn with such verity as the pursuit of wealth.
Poor Ebenezer, you fear the world too much. All your other hopes submerge into the one hope of being beyond the chance of its sordid reproach, the reproach of poverty. I have seen your nobler aspirations fall one by one, until the master passion, gain, engrosses you. Have I not?
What then? Even if I have grown so much wiser, what then? I'm not changed toward you, am I?
Our contract is an old one, made when we were both poor and content to be so, until in good season we could improve our worldly fortune by our patient industry. You are changed. When it was made, Ebenezer, you were another man.
I was a boy.
Your own feelings tell you that you are not the same. I am, which promised happiness when we are one in heart is fraught with misery now that we are two. How often and keenly I have thought of this, I will not say. It is enough that I have thought of it and can release you.
Have I sought release?
In words? No, never.
In what then?
In a changed nature and altered spirit. In everything that made my love any worth or value in your sight. If we had never had our past, tell me, do you seek me out and try to win me now? No.
You think not?
I would gladly think otherwise if I could. Heaven knows I would. But if you were free today, tomorrow, can you even believe that you would choose a dowerless girl? You who in your very confidence with her weigh everything by gain. Or even if you should, do I not know that regret would surely follow? I do. I return your ring, and I release you. With a full heart for the love of him you once were. May you be happy in the life you have chosen.
Go to her, you fool! You fool! Spirit, show me no more. Take me home.
One shadow more.
No more, no more. I don't wish to see it.
But the relentless ghost pinioned him in both arms and forced him to observe what happened next. They were in another scene, and a palace, a room, not very large and handsome, but full of comfort and Christmas cheer. Near to the winter fire sat a mother and daughter, so alike in their loveliness that Scrooge caught his breath to think that the comely matron might have once called him husband, and the other such creature, quite as graceful and full of promise as her daughter, might have called him father and been a springtime in the haggard winter of his life. As he watched, a knocking was heard at the door, and such a rush ensued from the younger children just in time to play to greet the father who had arrived, laden with toys and Christmas presents. After the excitement quieted down, the master of the house sat by his own fireside, his daughter leaning fondly on him and his wife close by, making a picture of contentment and domestic happiness.
Spirit, show me no more. Remove me from this place. I cannot bear it. Why do you delight to torture me?
I told you, these were the shadows of things that have been. They are what they are. Do not blame me.
Leave me. Take me back. Haunt me no longer.
They are what they are. Do not blame me.
In his anguish, he wrestled with the spirit of Christmas past, and yet found he was only struggling with a strange, unbroken light. He was conscious of being exhausted and drowsy, and of being in his own bedroom, with barely time to reel to bed before he sank into heavy sleep. At the stroke of 1, Scrooge awoke in the middle of a prodigious tough snore and sat upright.
Bell!
He knew that the second messenger dispatched to him through Jacob Marley's intervention would shortly present itself, and he wished this time to challenge the spirit the moment of its appearance. However, no spirit came. 5 minutes, 10 minutes passed until the clocks proclaimed the hour, and he still sat alone. At last he began to think. Throughout the hour he had seen a ghostly light about the clock, and he wondered if in the adjoining room he would find its weird source. He had hardly moved when a strange voice called him by name and bade him enter. He obeyed. It was his own room, there was no doubt about that, but it had undergone a strange and surprising transformation. The walls and ceiling were so hung with living green that it looked like a perfect grove from every part of which glistened gleaming berries. It was as Christmassy a sight as old Scrooge had ever seen.
Come in, and know me better, man. I am the ghost of Christmas present. Look upon me.
Never.
You have never walked forth with the younger members of my family, my brothers born in these later years?
I'm afraid I have not. Have you many brothers, Spirit?
More than 1,800.
A tremendous family to provide for.
Nor have I ever seen the likes of you. You're so sour, the blood's gone bad in your veins.
Spirit, conduct me where you will. I went forth last night on compulsion and I learned a lesson, which is working still. Tonight, if you have aught to teach me, let me profit by it.
Touch my robe. Now, what see you?
I see gaiety and Christmas cheer everywhere. Stores lighted up in holly and mistletoe.
That noise. Do you know whose house that is?
Ah, yes, it is the humble home of my clerk, Bob Cratchit. Look, Spirit, how happy they are. The children dancing about the table while Mrs. Cratchit lays the feast before them.
Whatever has gotten your precious father, then? And your brother, Tiny Tim? And Martha wasn't as late last Christmas by half an hour.
Here's Martha, Mother. Here's Martha. There's such a goose, Martha.
Why, bless you, my dear, how late you are. They're keeping you longer and longer at the milliner's.
Yeah, we had a tremendous deal of work to finish up last night, and we had to clear away this morning.
Working on Christmas Eve. Well, never mind, so long as you're here. Sit down by the fire, my dear, and warm yourself.
Father's coming! Hide, Martha, hide! Where?
And who is that man who enters so merrily carrying a tiny crippled lad on his shoulder?
That, sir, is Bob Cratchit and his son, Tiny Tim. How tenderly his father holds him.
Merry Christmas, my dears. Merry Christmas, Patricia.
Merry Christmas, Father.
Why, where's our Martha?
Not coming.
Not coming? Not coming upon Christmas Day?
She had so much work at the milliner's. They sent someone round to tell the families that all the girls would be staying.
Oh, well, if she feels she must stay, we'll abide by her good judgment. But it hardly seems fair to work on Christmas Day.
I'm here, Father. I can't stand to see you disappointed, even for a joke.
Well then, we're all together after all. Then it will be a Merry Christmas.
Patricia, take Tim up to the wash house. The goose will be ready before we know it.
Right, ma'am. All right, Timothy, this way.
And tend to the pudding, Belinda. It mustn't be overdone. And how did Tim behave at church?
As good as gold, and better. Somehow, he gets thoughtful sitting by himself so much, and he thinks the strangest things you ever heard. He told me coming home that he hoped the people saw him in church because he was a cripple. It might be pleasant for them to remember upon Christmas Day made lame beggars walk and blind men see. Then I trotted us round to the shop windows, where he gazed for the longest time at the toys. Sensing his spirits beginning to droop, I galloped straight away to Cornhill Street, where in honor of it being Christmas, we went down the slide 20 times.
25.
Right you are, Tim. 25. And all along the way, any number of acquaintances stopped us to remark that Tim is looking stronger and heartier every day.
Here we are, perfectly cleaned and wonderfully starved.
Good. The goose is all but calling to be let out of the oven. Martha, help your father set the table.
Here's the goose!
So small a goose for so large a family.
And a pudding. Have you ever seen such a one? I ask you, Martha.
Never. The girls at the shop would be positively ashamed to display theirs anywhere near it.
Now, before plunging into this splendid feast, I'd like to propose a health, a toast. A toast, everyone. Mr. Scrooge. I give you Mr. Scrooge, the founder of the feast.
Mr. Scrooge, indeed. I wish I had him here. I'd give him a piece of my mind to feast upon, and I'd hope he'd have a good appetite for it.
My dear, the children, Christmas Day.
It should be Christmas Day, I'm sure, on which we drink the health of such an odious, stingy, hard-on-feeling man as Mr. Scrooge. You know he is, Robert. Nobody knows it better than you do.
My dear, Christmas Day.
I'll drink his health for your sake and the day's, not for his. A Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year to him. He'll be very merry and very happy, I have no doubt. To Mr. Scrooge.
To Mr. Scrooge.
Mr. Scrooge.
I wouldn't give a cent for Mr. Scrooge.
Either would I.
Have an open heart, I beg you. It's Christmas after all, and I think that in many ways Mr. Scrooge is a great deal less fortunate than we are.
Impossible.
Not at all. Compare a condition with that of Mr. Scrooge. He has no family to gather round him, no warmth, no cheer. He has none but his own voice to listen to, and none to answer. I believe he is a great deal less fortunate than we.
A clerk who makes 15 shillings a week, and he counts himself more fortunate than you?
Remembering those who are less fortunate, let us say grace. Kind Father, bless this humble family. Bless our home. Bless our happiness. May we share them with any who should ask. In your name, Amen. A Merry Christmas to us all, my dears. God bless us.
God
God bless us.
God bless us, everyone.
Spirit, tell me, will Tiny Tim live?
I see a vacant seat in the poor chimney corner and a crutch without an owner carefully preserved. If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, the child will die.
No, no. Oh no, kind spirit, say he will live to be spared.
Shadows remain unaltered by the future, none other of my race will find him here. What of it? If he be like to die, he had better do it and decrease the surplus of population. It may be in the sight of heaven you are more worthless and less fit to live than millions like this poor man's child.
'Tis truth you speak.
You cannot move within that circle.
Why not, spirit?
Did you not hear the clerk take the measure of his employer? You are drifting alone outside and cannot get in. You have no circle.
There was a time, spirit, when I had.
How many years ago? That kind circle has long since withered, and you have cast it from your heart.
I deny it, spirit, I deny it. If any kindness is withered in me, it has done so of its own accord. I had nothing to do with it. If kindness wishes to wither, it withers.
Have you not seen nor heard, you unrepentant little man? You have a long journey to make, but a short time in which to make it. Enough. You must go on. Hold my robe. Let us see another house in this teeming city. What now, man? What see you?
Hear how heartily she laughs and how they join her.
What else?
They joke about me. They drink to my health and happiness, knowing I lack both. They laugh that I miss the dinner they offer, and yet, in truth, they seem to wish for my presence.
You observe well.
The games they play, I remember them. I'd almost like to join in their sport.
And as I live, he said that Christmas was a humbug. He believed it too.
More shame for him.
He's a comical old fellow, that's the truth, though. Not as pleasant as he might be. However, his offenses carry their own. I'll have nothing to say against him.
I'm sure he's very rich. At least you always tell me so.
What of that? His wealth is of no use to him. He doesn't do any good with it. He doesn't make himself comfortable with the satisfaction of thinking he's ever going to benefit us with it.
I have no patience with him.
Oh, I have. I'm sorry for him. I couldn't be angry with him if I tried. Who suffers by his ill whims? Himself, always. Here he takes into his head to dislike us, and he won't come to dine with us. What's the consequence? He doesn't lose much of a dinner.
Indeed. I think he loses a very good dinner.
Oh, he does. And I was going to say that the consequences of his disliking us is that he loses some pleasant moments which could do him no harm. I mean to give him the same chance every year, whether he likes it or not. He may rail at Christmas till he dies, but he can't help thinking better of it if he finds me going there, in good humor, year after year and saying, "Uncle Scrooge, how are you?" If it only puts him in a mind to leave his poor clerk £50, that's something. And I think I shook him yesterday.
From the sound of him, I don't see where there's any more chance of shaking Mr. Scrooge than there is shaking of the Rock of Gibraltar.
Less, I should think. Enough. A game is in order, I think.
My time grows short.
But there's a game, Spirit. One game.
If you wish, you may not find this one amusing.
This game is called Yes and No. I think of something, and you have to guess what it is by asking me questions, which I can answer either yes or no. All right, I've got it.
What is it?
Is it a living thing?
Yes.
Is it an animal?
Yes.
Is it a tame animal?
No, it's rather disagreeable.
Is it savage then?
Yes, fierce.
Does it make a noise?
Yes.
Does it bark?
In my opinion, no, though some may differ on that point.
Does it meow?
Definitely not.
That rules out the cats.
Does it howl?
No, not its style.
Does it growl?
Or grunt?
Yes, I say it does both.
Is it a bear?
No.
Does it live in the city?
Yes.
Clever girl, but not clever enough for my Francine. She's as sharp as a needle.
Is it London?
Yes.
Does it walk the streets?
Yes.
Not a dog or a horse, then is it a person?
Is it sold in a market?
No, but it's often found near the exchange.
What sort of animal is found near the exchange?
Is it a sociable creature?
Most unsociable.
Does it live amongst others of its kind?
It positively despises its kind.
It grunts and growls, lives in London, walks the streets, is disagreeable and unsociable?
I know it.
I found it. I know what it is, Francine. I know what it is.
The tax collector.
It's your Uncle Scrooge.
Well, if that's the case, then your reply to the question, is it a bear, ought to have been yes.
But he's not a bear.
No, but your negative answer was sufficient to divert our attention from him.
He's given us plenty of merriment, I'm sure, and it would be ungrateful not to drink his health. I say, Uncle Scrooge.
Uncle Scrooge.
You seem to be the source of much merriment.
Yes, for others.
I leave you. My life upon this globe is very brief.
Are spirits' lives so short?
Mine ends tonight at midnight. The time is drawing near. I go, but another comes.
And with that, the ghost of Christmas past dissolved into the mist, and Scrooge stood alone upon the street. As the last stroke of midnight rang, Scrooge remembered the prediction of old Marley, and lifting his eyes he beheld the third spirit, a solemn phantom, shrouded in black, draped and hooded, coming like a mist along the ground.
Am I in the presence of the ghost of Christmas yet to come? You are about to show me the shadows of the things that have not happened but will happen in the time before us. Is that so? Ghost of the future, I fear you more than any specter I have seen, but I know your purpose is to do me good, and as I hope to be another man from what I was, I am prepared to bear your company and do it with a thankful heart. Will you not speak to me? Lead on, spirit, lead on. I hear voices, men and women talking of one who is dead. They rejoice in his death, and they speak with cold dislike.
What do you call this, his coverlet?
His coverlet.
You don't mean to say you took it right off him with him just laying there?
I do. Why not?
You were born to make your fortune, and you'll certainly do it.
He ain't likely to take hold without it, I dare say.
I hope he didn't die of anything catching, eh?
You can look through that shirt till your eyes fall out, but you won't find a hole in it or a threadbare place. Best he had, and a fine one, too. They'd have wasted it if it hadn't been for me.
What do you call wasting it?
Putting it on him to be buried in. Somebody was fool enough to do it, but I took it off again.
You're a rare one. Now, what's this?
That's the prize of it all, that is. Wrapped in a piece of paper under a pile of old ledgers in the bottom of a trunk.
I wonder what he was doing with such a bauble. Think he was gonna give it to some young lady?
None in their proper minds would have such a one as he was. He was just like the undertaker said, a natural from first to last.
A valuable piece. It'll fetch a nice price and feed old Josephine for a month.
This is the end of it, you see. He frightened everyone away from while he was alive, to profit us when he was dead.
They quarrel over his possessions, even the sheets from his bed. They have even taken the shirt from his dead body. Spirit, just with horror I witnessed this. I see. The case of this unhappy man might be my own. I beg you, Spirit, let me see some tenderness connected with death, that I may forget the horror of what I've just heard. I pray you, lead on.
We're gone a long time, Bob.
Yes, my dear. I wish you could have seen how green a place it is where he lays. It would have done you good, my dear. But you'll see it often. I promised him we would walk there on Sunday. My little Tim.
Don't be sorrowful, Robert. He is where all the little angels go, and we must be happy this Christmas, as he would have us.
Of course we must. We must be closer than ever before, and happier. But however, and whenever we part from one another, I am sure we shall none of us forget poor tiny Tim. Shall we? Or this first parting that there was among us?
Never, Father, never.
Oh no, Father.
And I know, my children, that when we recollect how patient and mild he was, though he was little child, we shall not quarrel easily among ourselves and forget poor tiny Tim in doing it.
No, never, Father.
I'm very happy, dear, for him and for us all.
And I too. This shall be a Merry Christmas.
Spirit, tell me, is there a reason the boy had to die? Tell me, what man was that who we saw laying dead? A churchyard. Before I draw nearer to that gravestone to which you point, answer me one question. Are these the shadows of things that will be, or are they the shadows of things that only may be? Men's course will foreshadow certain ends, no doubt, but if these courses departed from, the ends will change. Say it is thus with that you show me, I beg you, say it. My name? Am I the man whose death they welcomed? Over whose possessions they quarreled? No, Spirit, oh no. Spirit, hear me, I am not the man I was. I will not be the man I must have been but for this intervention. Why show me this if I am past all hope? Good Spirit, your hand trembles. Your nature intercedes for me and pities me. Assure me that I may yet change these shadows that you have shown me, but in altered life. I will live in the past, present, and the future. The spirit of all three shall strive within me. Oh, tell me that I may sponge away the writing on this stone. I beg you, tell me.
In his agony, old Scrooge caught the spectral hand. It sought to free itself, but he was strong in his entreaty and detained it. Holding up his hand in a last prayer to have his fate reversed, he saw a sudden altercation in the phantom's hood and dress. It shrunk, collapsed, and dwindled until his hands clasped nothing but emptiness. The ghost of Christmas yet to come had left him.
I will honor Christmas in my heart and try to keep it all year. Oh, tell me I may sponge away the writing on the stone. I beg you, tell me. I'm alive. I am not dead. And this bed is my own, and this room is my own, and the time before me is my own. The ghost spared me. I knew it. I will live in the past, the present, and the future. The spirits of all three shall strive within me. Oh, Jacob Marley, heaven and Christmas be praised for this. I say it on my knees, old Jacob, on my knees. I don't know what to do. I am merry as a schoolboy. There's the saucepan that the gruel was in, by which the ghost of Jacob Marley entered. There's the corner where the ghost of Christmas present sat. It's all right. It's all true. It's all happened. A Merry Christmas to everybody. A Happy New Year to all of the world. I don't know what day of the month it is. Hello, 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 my fine young lady. What day is this?
Today? Why, it's Christmas Day, sir.
Christmas Day. The spirits done it all in one night. Heaven be praised. Miss, do you know the poulterers on the next street? The one at the corner?
I should hope I did.
An intelligent girl. A remarkable young miss. Do you know whether they've sold the prize turkey that was hanging there? Not the little prize turkey, the big one?
What, the one as big as me?
What a delightful girl. It's a pleasure to talk with her. Yes, my dear.
It's hanging there now.
Is it? Go buy it.
Buy it yourself.
No, I'm serious. Go and buy it and bring it here that I may give you directions where to take it. Come back with the turkey and I'll give you a shilling. Come back with it in less than 5 minutes and I'll give you half a crown.
Yes, sir.
I'll take it to Bob Cratchit's. It's twice the size of Tiny Tim. 4 times the size of Tiny Tim.
Then the new Ebenezer Scrooge dressed himself all in his best and got out onto the streets of London. By this time, people were pouring forth, and Scrooge regarded all with a delighted smile and hearty holiday greeting.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Scrooge and Marley's, I believe.
My dear madam, how do you do? A Merry Christmas to you.
Mr. Scrooge?
Yes, that is my name. I fear it may not be very pleasant to you. Allow me to ask your pardon. And will you have the goodness...
Lord bless me! My dear Mr. Scrooge, are you serious?
If you please, not a farthing less. A great many back payments are included in it, I assure you. Will you do me that favor?
My dear sir, I don't know what to say.
Don't say anything. Come and see me. Will you come and see me?
I will.
Thank you. I'm much obliged to you. I thank you 50 times. Bless you.
Scrooge went to church, questioned beggars, and patted all the little children on the head. He had never dreamed that any walk, nay, that anything could give him such happiness. In the afternoon, he turned his steps toward his niece's house. He passed the door a dozen times before he had the courage to go up and enter.
What sort of animal is found near the exchange?
Is it a sociable creature?
Most unsociable.
Does it live amongst others of its kind?
Positively despises its kind.
It's your Uncle Scrooge. Merry Christmas all.
Uncle?
I come to beg your pardon, Francine, for the things I said about Christmas. Can you forgive an old fool?
Well, of course, Uncle, of course. Merry Christmas.
A very Merry Christmas to you, Francine, and to all of you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Scrooge finally arrived at the home of Bob Cratchit and Tiny Tim. As he entered, they were all seated at the table, making ready to partake of their lovely feast.
Mr. Scrooge, good afternoon.
Good afternoon indeed. What do you mean by not appearing at work today?
Now see here, sir.
But Mr. Scrooge, it's Christmas.
Now I'll tell you what, my friend. I'm not going to stand for this sort of thing any longer.
Mr. Scrooge,
And therefore, I'm about to raise your salary. A Merry Christmas, Bob. A merrier Christmas, Bob, my good fellow, than I've given you for many a year. I'll raise your salary and endeavor to assist your family, and we'll discuss your affairs this very afternoon.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And a Merry Christmas, Mr. Scrooge.
May I join you in this Christmas feast on this Christmas day, Bob Cratchit?
Yes, sir. And welcome. Children, let us make room for Mr. Scrooge.
Oh, please sit down, Mr. Scrooge. Please sit down.
A Merry Christmas to you and yours, Bob Cratchit, and a Merry Christmas to you, Tiny Tim.
A Merry Christmas to you too, Mr. Scrooge, and God bless us, everyone.
Scrooge was better than his word. He did it all and indefinitely more. And to Tiny Tim, who did not die, he was a second father. He became as good a friend, as good a master, and as good a man as the old city knew.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Walnut High School radio players thank you for your support of our program. If our production has provided you and your family with good cheer, then you have only to thank Charles Dickens, the founder of our feast and this fairy tale for the ages. If you are in a charitable spirit this holiday season after our production, the Walnut High School Drama Department would be most grateful for your donation, which can be made by scanning the QR code that now appears on your screen, by visiting the Walnut High School web store using the link provided on your screen, or by visiting walnuthightarts.com and clicking the donate button. The Walnut High School Drama Department wishes you all the best for this holiday season.